a divine paradigm of love and universal consciousness, with your host, Janet Kira Lessin and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Together, we transform the world.
And now, here are your hosts, Janet Kira and Dr. Sasha Lessin.
Hello, hi everybody, and welcome to the Sacred Matrix. I'm your host, Janet Kira Lessin. My co-host is Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin. Our producer is Debra DeFranco. And you're listening to Revolution Radio Studio B. Our guest today is Russ Kellett, and he's been a UFO and alien abduction investigator for 30 years. He's appeared in a number of UFO documentaries on the BBC ITV Granada, as well as Bravo TV and other cable channels. He's also been a guest on numerous radio shows, such as the BBC Talk Sports Radio, Talk Radio, as well as on independent radio stations and a number of internet radio stations. So he's been on our show a couple times. So I've got a longer, his claim to fame, amongst other things, is he's had contact with extraterrestrials, and he has a new, I guess it was in the paper recently. I've got the article up on the website there, and he's a UFO investigator, and he's going to tell us about what happens to him on occasion. Very interesting story, one of the most fascinating stories I've ever heard. Dr. Lessin, what would you like to say?
I'm really looking forward to whatever you've been finding out. And Russ, I read a thing by Penny Bradley talking about how super soldiers often get infusions of Draco DNA to give them this, cold efficiency and power. And I just wonder if you had any contact or knowledge about that too.
So welcome back to the show. It's been about a year since we did our last show. So what's been going on with you? You there, Russ? Make sure you unmute. Okay. Not sure what's going on. He's still showing there.
Ah, right. Can you hear me now?
Oh, good. Yes.
Sorry about that. Yeah. What's happened to me in the last year? The same as everybody else, I should imagine, that we've got this fake COVID-19 going around, which has just stuffed businesses and people, the whole world, through. What it's done for me, basically, is that I had 3 documentaries that we started just about ready to make in March, and then we got this, like I say, this amazing virus escapade, and it just made it that it was impossible for us to get out and film because we were in a lockdown situation, and then, a fire break, and then, of course, we had the 3-tier system that we're in tier 4 now. I don't know how the heck that works, but I'm not educated, but I know that there seems to be a tier more than, 1 tier over the tier 3. So, basically, things that have been stuffed for not only me, but I should imagine quite a lot of people the whole world over. Not only in the subject of UFOs, but just about in, every other sort of way possible, so, it's not just me that it's affected the whole world, hasn't it, really? So,
yes.
So the thing is, just as we was getting on track, ready to start filming, it was a case of it happened again for the second time. I was, happy to see though, just before all this started the second time, that we had the famous show that came to North Wales called "I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here." I don't know, do you have it over there in America?
I'll say that again.
I'm so happy to get me out of here.
Oh, I'm so happy, get me out of here. Sounds like a great show. What's it about?
I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. It's celebrities going to a castle, and there's about 20 of them, and it's the last two standing. The one becomes either the king of the castle or the queen. And I brought that show over to North Wales. If you see, I sent you the newspaper article. It was down to me investigating the paranormal and UFOs in that area that brought this £1 million show over to North Wales. Originally, it had been filmed over in Australia for quite a number of years, so I managed to, because the producers had seen me and heard about the UFOs and the cases that I'd been working on around there, that they thought they would bring the show over here. So that
is that a hot spot for UFO activity?
Were you able to show them anything?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing is, it was in a famous castle, which is an haunted castle, and I know somebody who used to go there as a young lad, and it's very haunted. So they're in an haunted castle to start off with. One of the first UFO reports ever written in the early 1900s was around just outside of the castle walls. And then, of course, we've got the famous Beary Mountains incident, where flying saucers basically was depth charged in the Irish Sea and around Liverpool and Puffin Island, and they came out of the sea, and there was attacked by fighter jets. And apparently, if my research is any good, that there's at least 3 flying saucers that were brought down that night.
Did they return fire?
Oh yeah. Apparently they hit a battleship, they hit a jet fighter and 2 helicopters. So this is something that I've been working on 30 years.
When they're brought down, do they crash to the earth and then they've got to cover that up, or do they disintegrate, or do they crash? You said they were brought down. Did you see where they landed, and how do you know they were brought down?
Yeah, because we had a group of 5 men that was on the way home from a gentleman's club that evening, saw the landed craft at the side of the road, and 5 what you would call alien greys. 2 seemed to be in some kind of difficulty that looked as if they were injured. And then all of a sudden the military turned up, basically told them to get out of the area straight away. And there was rifles basically pointed, and they were told to move. So they went, and I've been trying to get hold of a photograph for a good 23 years that apparently shows the landed craft, as they went up onto an hillside to take photographs, and then they got out of there.
Who got the photos? Who took the pictures of the greys?
One of the gentlemen that was in the car on the way home.
Okay.
And so I've been trying. Unfortunately, I haven't got hold of them yet. And a good number of the witnesses have passed away now. So,
Right.
one of the things I was supposed to do this year was to go over to the go-between and trying to set up a talk with the head of this group's family to see if, in fact, they still had the photographs and if it would be possible, like to get a copy of them. But unfortunately, like I say, all this with this COVID started. That was one thing that stopped, and then there was filming about the Beary Mountains with two different companies. That again, it just made it impossible for us to go over and film because we're in a lockdown situation.
Does the British government, does Boris know about, of course he must, about what's going on, and is he into disclosure at all?
I don't think Boris knows what bloody day it is, never mind about anything else. Oh, God. I don't even think he knows what planet he's on. Let's be honest about it. It's like I've said. I would have loved to have stood for a political party and do something for the people. But something that I've learned is no matter whether you're left, right, or in the middle, they're only going to do for themselves. They haven't got anybody else's interest at heart. So, when you realise that, you realise about politics. And it's something I don't like getting into anymore because I just know what it's about, and we're not going to get any answers from anybody in politics, by the way, and anybody that works for the government. There's no way that they're gonna come out and tell you anything.
No, because people like you have had personal experiences, and I do want to, and I don't think Debra, a lot of the people heard your story because. I mean, it's been a year since you've been on, I don't know if you've been on other Revolution Radio, but it's been a year since you've been on our show. But we'll do some catching up, and then we'll go back and get your story. So you were doing this, now you got to be a part of this. This is like a Survivor thing, right? The last man and woman standing. They get to be king and queen of the castle.
Yeah.
Then what? Do they own it, or they just get to rent it for a while? Or what's
what
does that mean?
Well, what it is, it's celebrities, right? Yeah, they've gone in,
right.
They've been paid X amount of cash to go in, and what it is, they have trials, and what they do, they're with live sort of like creatures, like they'll put them in like a coffin, and give them 5 minutes to get out of this coffin. And they'll give them sort of like a lock to sort of like to open, and all the time they're given 3 keys, and they've got to find the keys in the coffin, and then they've got to undo the lock to get out. And all the time this is going on, what they keep doing is they keep on adding creatures, like they'll put mealworms in, shove them down this pipe. And then they'll put ants inside, and then they'll put, other creepy spiders in, and sort of like, all sorts of stuff. So, and sort of like, and if they want to finish, and they don't want to, if they're scared, they shout, "I'm a celebrity, get me out of here." Well, what happens is, if you do that, you win some stars, and what it does is you win these stars, and it goes to getting food for the day, and the more stars you get, the more food you get. Well, to be honest, I think I would rather not bother eating, because if you've seen what they've got to do, they've got to make their own food, and they'll send them stuff in like rabbits and stuff. All sorts of stuff that so I suppose if you're in the third world, it'd be a delicacy. You'd be eating. It'd be fantastic. But if you'd seen some of the things what they've been eating, I think I'd be about 5 stone lighter if I were in there, because I wouldn't be eating whatsoever. Probably do me the world of good, actually. But
so you
have to eat rats.
Oh, yeah, all sorts. Probably. There's all sorts of things. But then, what they do is, they do another trial where they'll give them other things to eat, right? Yeah, and you win a star, and I won't even tell you what they eat, but there's like pig's tongue, there's sort of like animal, someone's toes, chicken's feet, and you can have it either like that, or they'll mince it up for you, and so you're drinking stuff like,
Okay.
let's put it this way, things on animals that you wouldn't want anywhere near, never mind in your gob. You wouldn't want to eat, never mind having them in.
So you were on this show? Is that what you were saying? Did I misunderstand?
Oh my God! My God, I'm not a star. I'm not a celebrity.
I thought you were a star. You're a star in my world. Now, I thought because you did the UFO Hunters, they knew about you.
Yeah, but the thing is, apparently there's been people that don't like me calling in and asking if they'll please have me on the show, so that I'll sort of like have to do these tasks, these horrible tasks. Oh dear. I think my sister rung up and said, "Can you get me brother in, please?" Oh dear.
Wow.
But yeah,
okay.
Sorry.
Sounds awful. I don't think I want to do it. I'm glad I'm not a celebrity.
Well, exactly.
So let's go to your story. Let's go to your story, because I know that Debra hasn't heard it, and a lot of people haven't heard it. And so why don't you give our listeners kind of a brief intro to your story, and then we'll ask you additional questions. Because I know, and you're still having contact, right? This is ongoing?
Well, it had been up until a couple of years ago, and then I had an incident where I had something happen when I was downstairs, 4 o'clock in the morning. I've got it written down somewhere. The last time, it was about 2 years ago. And it's stopped now, thank goodness, It's been to be honest, if I'm truly honest, it's been like a lifetime of torture. I mean, the early years, but how it started, right?
Do you miss having contact?
Well, the strange thing is, when I'm over there in my unit, sort of like a lot of the time, I wish I were back home. And then when you're back home, then you're thinking, I wish I were with my unit, sometimes. It's a strange thing. It's a very strange thing. I can't really explain.
So what did you like about being in the unit? What was the part that felt good, that you enjoyed?
God, it's like an adventure. I don't like travelling.
Yeah.
I don't like the way that we travel. It always makes me feel sick. And anybody, I don't say too much about this, because the thing is, from day one, when I started up nearly 30 years ago, a UFO group, I was looking for people that had had the same type of thing happen to them, like I had. And so, all as I was getting at the time was people that I suppose that had watched television and had read books. And what they seemed to be doing, they seemed to be talking and telling what had happened to them. And it was very representative of a book what I'd read and a TV film that I'd watched. It was more or less, you could see it was more or less word for word what they'd seen and what they'd read. And it were always alien greys, and it was always, I'll be honest, it were very similar to Whitley Shriver. Communion.
Right.
It was almost, you never actually got past the spacecraft and the shack, if you know what I mean. There was never any, you could ask them any questions, but it were like, they were just stuck at the shack where this thing happened and where these lights happened and how they got into a spacecraft and on a table and then sort of like probing. And after that, you could get nothing else from these people. Did you understand what I'm saying? It's like...
Yeah.
It's...
Well, so there's things, maybe their minds were wiped. You know,
well, no,
besides, I mean, there's a lot of...
If their minds were wiped, they wouldn't know that, would they? You know what I mean? It's like, all they're doing is just telling you what they've seen in a book or on television, if you know what I mean. You know?
Well, when I started a UFO discussion group in 1989 to 93, it was, I had a young man that was battling them at night, and he said they would come to get him, and he would break out of whatever they do, their spell. They pair, and he said he would beat the shit out of them. He was coming to my group, and he goes, "What can I do to stop them? They're coming, and I'm managing to beat them off of me, and they don't take me, but I'm still, they're still coming, and doesn't seem to be able to because they come through the walls." But did you want to say something, Sash? Go ahead.
Russ, I know what you mean. For many people, they have confluence to the degree that when they read something, Bridie Murphy was a very famous example of that. She thought that she was in ancient or in Ireland at a certain time period, before she was born. And it turns out that when she was a little kid, she went to the Chicago Exposition of ancient, of rural Irish life, and that's why she remembered that. And Helen Keller wrote a whole book and was sued for it, word for word. She was not doing plagiarism, which she was sued for, but what she was doing was she had heard it and memorized it and forgot she did it. So a lot of the people have read something like Stryber, and they feel it so deeply that it happened for them phenomenologically. They experienced it, even though the origin of that experience was someone else's.
That's right.
What about your type of stories, Russ? There's all these super soldiers now that have been in the secret space.
Listen, I was a super soldier before they even came out with the terminology. We didn't call it super soldiers. Right. Right, something happened, and I don't really like talking about this because it really makes me angry, but I was talking about being taken, about being put into a military unit. I never mentioned the word soldier as such, right, but you're not in a military unit for nothing. And I was talking about the aliens having weapons, and for a long time, I'd given a magazine stories, photographs, and evidence, and had used it. But I've noticed something, and when my dad had said to me, "How comes?" he said, "I see this bloody magazine here," he said, "with all these people talking about being abducted and stuff." And he says, "But," he said, "I never see you in it. Why?" He said, "Ask that bloke when he comes, that editor of that magazine, ask him." Anyway, I asked him, and my dad were there, my mum and my sister were in the kitchen as well. And I said, "Yes, something I'd like to ask you," I says. I said, "How comes," I says, "that, we've got all these people talking about being abducted." I said, "But I said, "I've never been up on podium talking about mine." "Oh," he said, "Well," I said, I said, "I'm put into this military unit," I said, "and, fighting alongside these aliens," I says, "and they're fighting other races of aliens that have weapons." "Oh, you can't talk about that. Oh, you can't talk about, that stuff doesn't sell magazines. Oh, it's like bloody David Icke, bloody hell." Now, the thing is, if you're an editor of a magazine and you're getting the truth out, right, it doesn't sell Well, wait a minute. If this is the truth, and I'm telling the truth, and it's funny that everywhere I went, I was videoing UFOs hitting me when I was filming them, flashing down and hitting me, you can see it. I was filming strange things in the sky at daytime. I was filming flying saucers. I was filming flying triangles coming out of the sea, out where I live, out of the bay. I was filming, and they wanted me video footage, but yet they didn't want me to talk about a war that's going on between more than one alien race and us fighting alongside these aliens against their enemies. Right, yeah? It doesn't sell magazines. Now, the problem is, if what I'm telling people here is the truth, and it's up to people whether they believe me or not, it's up to them. Right, yeah? I ain't making any money out of it, so why would I come out with it? You know? Now, it's a case of, this is what's happened to me, and, it doesn't sell magazines. Well, I'm sorry. So what you're saying, what does sell magazines isn't necessarily the truth then. It's what sounds nice. Now, someone turned around and said, it's probably, you're probably that way inclined and that's why they took you. No, I wasn't that way inclined whatsoever. If there's ever any fighting that's being done, you'll always find me saying to people, look, come on, don't fight. Let's not fight. Let's, come on, let's talk things over. You know what I'm saying?
You're not inclined. You're saying you're not naturally violent, but somehow they put you into a situation where you're either kill or be killed.
Yeah.
Right?
That's just it. You just hit the nail on the head. So the thing is, but because of my size and what have you, people go, oh, well, he's probably rough. He's probably a bad one. And that's why they've taken him. Right, yeah? Nothing of the kind. Anybody that knows me know that it's quite the opposite. I'm an artist. I'd rather draw and paint and do artwork. I've just wrote 2 books now. One, the first about my abduction, and the other one is about the Beary Mountains incident. So, I was dyslexic for a number of years, but I've learned and I've taught myself to read and write. I was bullied at school. I was beaten up and I'd had injuries, and I stopped going to school. So basically, I've got myself, sort of like to read and write now, and do so. It's like, so people see me and look at me and they think, well, is that why it was taken? Well, no, I don't think so. But like I say, the thing is, I was stopped from talking about what was going on, with a lot of evidence, with a lot of video footage of me filming UFOs around me. There's nobody had as many UFO videos. There's nobody, taken as many UFO videos as myself, I should imagine. And
are you getting them out on YouTube or anything? Are you at least getting them out to the internet to show people?
I've got a YouTube site where I've put all my videos up and a couple of friends' videos. They've been up for quite some time now. The thing is that, I find that a lot of the videos, people say, oh, well, they're not as good as some of this new stuff that's coming out. But the thing is, I know that they're real. I know that they haven't been faked. Some of the new stuff looks absolutely brilliant, but you just don't know. And there's some that you definitely know that are a bit dodgy, if you're not, they're too good. It could be CGI, etc. But having said that, you've just got to look and think for yourself, haven't you, really, But like I say, so I spent a long time out there filming and basically thinking that I was wasting my time because it were like, yeah, they'd like to use my video footage, but they didn't like to use my story. So where'd you go from there?
Well, we're here listening to your story. Like your story. Can you tell Debra, because she hasn't heard it, and the listeners, a couple of the earlier incidents and what happened?
Right,
what
yeah.
One of that?
Of course.
The other thing do you because it's my hypothesis. If you drive craft, does it have anything to do with you being a motorcycle guy?
Yeah. So go back to when this started.
Right. Well,
going through the time. Back to the beginning.
I'd gone across, one of the first that I remembered was that I'd gone across to a pub to meet somebody who had a chopper, and he'd had a problem, and now we're having this problem with my motorbike. And they said, ask him how he fixed his. So went over to see him. He said he'd be in this pub at this time. And anyway, I waited for a couple of hours. He didn't turn up. So I thought, well, I better get home because I've got work in the morning. So I set off back home, and I thought I'll cut across Silsden and go across over to Bronteland, which is Haworth. So as I went to turn right and went round about, I came to this what do you call it, level crossing, you know, and these lights were coming down red, and I thought, oh, in front of me is a level crossing, so I slowed down and stopped at the level crossing. Then I was immersed in this bright light, and I'm looking around because it was so bright. I thought it must have been, I could feel the heat on the back of my neck, and I looked around, and I thought it must have been a truck or something with its lights shining, you know. I looked around, there was nothing around, there was nothing at the side of me. I thought it might have been one of my friends on his motorbike, shining his light from his motorbike on me. At the side, looked at the sides, nothing. And I thought, that's odd. And then I noticed the light was shining from above, and I looked up, and the next thing I knew, I was just floating. So I'm like, just feeling like I'm floating, and a right calm feeling, really calm, warm. And then the next thing, I was back on my motorbike with a bang. And I looked around, and I thought, you know, where am I? And I realised that, you know, I was back sat in the middle of the road, more or less. These lights are going back up, and I looked around and I thought, I better move myself because I'm sat in the middle of the road, you know. So I carried on my way home, and I was just going past the place where we used to ride as motorbikes, as trail bikes, a place called the Flappy. So as I'm going along, I can see this like a ball of light, and it's at the side of me, about a mile away, and it's going over trees, and it's going over the fields and what have you, and it's getting closer and closer, and the next thing, it was like a silver ball now, and it was quite big, and it's at the side of us, and the next thing, it flew across the road in front of me, and I was racing it in a way because it was moving faster. Anyway, it flew, and it really shot in front of me. And there's a car coming in the opposite direction. I slowed down now, and I'm looking at this bloke to see his face, to see if he'd seen it. And because it went in front of him as well. And this bloke, he was like a baldish bloke. I remember his face, and he had glasses on. And I looked at him, and I was just about to point, did you see that? And it was just as if he were like sat like a robot, just driving straight past me in the opposite direction, never looked or anything, you know. Anyway, it was really bizarre. So I pulled over to the car park where we used to go, at the Flappy. And I used to smoke then, and I mean smoke cigarettes, I don't mean anything else. So I'm sat and I'm thinking, you know, look at that, you know, and it's heading over to this place called Halifax now. So I'm having a cigarette, and I'm looking, and I'm just, what was that? You know, that was unbelievable. So I thought, right, I better move myself now, and carried on my journey home, you know. So anyway, I starts my bike up and on my way home, gets to my house, and it's all in darkness. And I thought, that's a bit strange. Lights are usually all lit up, you know. So I goes to the gate, open the gate, because at that time, that was only way in to back at house, if you know what I mean, in back garden. So parked my bike up, opened the back door, my dog came running and let her out, you know, sort of like, so she went to the toilet in the garden. I said, come on then. So I goes in and I put kettle on and I thought, it were making a bit of a noise and I thought, right, I better turn that off. I thought, I won't have a coffee because it looks a bit late. When I looked, it's going on to about 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, I set off at just after 10 o'clock. You know, so I mean, I'm thinking, it can't be right, that. Time can't be right. So I goes upstairs and my dog follows up, you know, sort of like gets into bed. Next morning, I hears this shouting, Russell Kellett, get up, you're going to be late for work. You want to get in a bit earlier, lad, when you know it's work the next morning. You'll be getting sacked. Well, my mum, as usual. All right, never mind, all right, come on, move it, she'd shout up. And she said, and I thought, yeah, she's right. My boss Julian, now Russ, now look, you know what time it is, don't you? Oh, you're late. Okay then, Julian. Anyway, so I shouldn't really do that, but that wasn't my boss. So I goes in through the doors, and first thing, I took my helmet off, and one of the lasses came running up, and she gives it, have you seen your face? I said, have you seen yours? She says, no. She says, I mean, have you seen it? She says. I said, how do you mean have I seen it? She said, go have a look in the mirror. Have you overdone it on sunbed? So I said, what are you talking about? She said, go have a look at your face. Anyway, so I goes in my office and do this little mirror sort of thing. On my face, I had an half-face helmet, and where the helmet hadn't been, you know, sort of like, it were all red, burn, like sunburn. Took it off, and I thought, flipping heck. All backs of my hands were red, and back of my neck were red. What the heck's that, you know? Anyway, so I had to spend all the time that day, I worked with 150 women, all, you know, packing, magazines in these, you know, like, little plastic bags that go out in, mail and stuff, you know. And, so I had like a full day of all women laughing and, you know, like, you know, pointing at me. You know, so a bit like a star really, but anyway. So I had that and sort of, but the thing is, after that day, I started to become ill. I really, I was being sick, and there were like blood coming up, you know what I mean? And I just was not myself for weeks. I went round to the doctor and he gave us something for my face. Yeah.
I think it might have been radiation poisoning. Okay, so you go to the doctor and what did they say?
Well, you know, we'll give you this cream, so because all my face were peeling. You know, like when you've got a real bad suntan.
Uh-huh.
You know, it were like that. So I mean, I put this stuff on, this cream, and you know, sort of like I had to go to hospital with it, and I've got it on all in my hospital records. It talks about, you know, this. It doesn't say sunburn. There's nowhere does it say sunburn. And it describes it a little bit strange. I forgot how it describes it now, but I remember reading and I thought, well, that doesn't read like sunburn, does it? You know, my face was swollen, and red, but not sunburn. So what does that mean? You know, very, very, very odd. You know, a very strange occurrence. So that was the first time I knew. I came home and from doctors and what have you, and you know, I started feeling really weak. I couldn't do my job right well. It affected me so much. I was lethargic. You know, I had no get up and go. I'd stopped training. I used to train martial arts. I'd even stopped training. You know, I've stopped training. It just affected me so much. It was unbelievable. So the other thing was, what I couldn't understand was this time. You know, if I'd set off, call it 10:30, it would be before 10:30 because 10:30's like last orders. Well, I wasn't even drinking, I was waiting for somebody. So it'd have been about 10:15, so I gets in at 2:00. You know, for a ride home, which should have taken me at the most, because I used to go a bit fast sometimes, about 3/4 of an hour. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Where did the other 3 hours go? You know, it didn't make any sense whatsoever. There were 3 hours missing time. So then, one of the other strange things, and this more or less had me like fall out with a friend, where we'd gone out and we'd gone for a ride on his motorbike, because, you know, you'd come home and we were both in like a bike club, and after tea, if we weren't working on his motorbikes in garage, etc., you know, we'd go see other friends with motorbikes, or we'd go to another motorbike club, friends in other motorbike clubs, if you know what I mean. So the thing is, I remember coming back, because I had work the next morning, so I didn't stay out too late, if you know what I mean. And I said, yeah, see you later on. And I remembered my friend was acting a little bit odd. He was acting really strange, you know. And the next day we were talking about where we'd been that night, you know, the night before. And he'd said that we'd been over at this place called the Three Nuns, which is like south of where we lived, you know, sort of like a place called Murfield. But anyway, and I said, that I were nowhere near there. I said, we went across to York Road, headed off over towards Harrogate, and then over to Blubberhouses, Skipton, and then the funny thing is, back towards the area where this thing had happened at Silsden. You know, the first time with the motorbike and the lights, where the level crossing where the train goes past. Now he says, no, we didn't go that way, and I said, well, we did. I said, I should know. I said, I were riding. I'm riding the bike. I said, I should know. No, I should know. I said, well, why should you know more than me if I were riding it? Anyway, he goes out of the garage and he looks and he grabs hold of the door. So right, so he must be ready after he's messed about for half an hour. So I goes out, closes the garage door, and he goes in his house. So I'm thinking he's gone, you know, because we said we're going to go for a ride. So I'm waiting for him to put his crash helmet on, come out, and then we'll go for a... So half an hour had gone. Right, yeah, half an hour. I thought, what's he doing? So I knocked on the door. I says, is Tony there? I says. And they said, oh, he's gone to bed. I said, what? I said, he said, oh, he's gone to bed. So, oh, okay. So, anyway, I decided then to go over to a friend's house. He lived over near this place called Druid's Altar, a place where I used to go and meditate a little bit. And I used to, have you ever heard of something called a mastermind set?
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure.
I belong to a mastermind group.
No, it's a mastermind set. What it is, it's goggles with these red lights inside. And it's connected. No. It's connected to this box, and it flashes these lights in sequence with different modes. And what it is, it's different rhythms: alpha, beta, delta, and other rhythms, and just depending on what you've got it on, it helps you sleep and relax, but it's also good for motivation and all sorts of things like that. Well, I'd got it because someone said that they used it because they were training in martial arts, and they said that they'd used it because it made them think more positive and they could train better. So I got one of these things. But also, you could put tapes in, and you could use it for like hypnotherapy. So if you wanted to stop smoking or whatever you wanted to do, positive thinking and that type of thing. So I'd used it for that. Sort of like a bit of an aid. So I'd sit over at Druid's Altar and look down the trunk road into the valley, and you could see all the cars and stuff that were going past, and it were high up, and it looked a right nice view from where I was sat, And so I'm driving across there, and if I didn't see, and I'm not joking, I couldn't believe it, it was like this, you could only describe it as like a spaceman walk behind a tree. A big, like oak tree, and this figure walked behind it, and it must have been as tall as the tree. Right? Wow. And I'm thinking to myself, have I just seen? No. Have I seen what? No, there's no chance. I'm thinking, I'm imagining things now. So I gets off, now I think it was my scooter then. I think I had a scooter when this happened. Anyway, so I'm going to my friend's house and his wife. I knocked on the door. He came, all right, Russ. And I said, you will never believe what I've just seen up there. I says, this giant like a spaceman. And he goes, oh yeah, you see that. He said, you see that a lot around here. Come in, he said, I'll put kettle on. Do you want a coffee? And yeah, but
not all the time, you're saying.
Pardon?
People there saw him all the time. Are you saying that the people saw him all the time?
Oh, you see that. You see that, but don't come in, have a coffee, and I'm thinking, but you know what I'm talking about? Oh, yeah. So I'm sat down, sort of like, and I said, well, and he said, oh, you see lots of strange things like that round here. Now, he did acupuncture, did my friend. And he'd been doing acupuncture on my knee because I'd fallen off of a wall, you see. So occasionally, when I went over, he'd give me a session of acupuncture for half an hour. Sort of like, then we'd have a coffee. And so he was telling me about the area around there and about all the strange goings on and this creature that had been seen up there and all the big lights that had been seen near Druid's Altar. And he told us about when they were near the lock at the side of his house, this like flying saucer type craft had gone behind this cloud, but when it came out, it zapped like a beam down into the lock. And he was telling his wife, look at that, look. And she looked and it had stopped and it had disappeared. He said, oh, you should have seen that. And she said, oh, I've seen stuff like that before, So the area is called Bingley. Now, strangely enough, I think the 9th Roman Legion went missing from around that area. On the way up to Hadrian's Wall. There's, very, very strange area. Now, when I started doing...
About and what was that? Back in...
A whole 100 people disappeared.
And what year was that, approximately? When
it would have Roman Legion. It would have been around 2,000 years ago.
Right.
It would be just after, wouldn't it? Because there were 100 years, 200 years, and then they went after 300 years. So it'd be just before the decline. So it'd be maybe just before the decline of the Roman Empire in England, you know. But when I started looking into the area, because what I'd done is I'd actually got into the newspapers about me becoming an investigator looking into UFOs. And I set up a group and asked if anybody had seen anything to call us. And then we'd go either take report forms and go meet people, or if it were further away, we'd send report forms out to them and a stamped addressed envelope for them to send back to us, you see. Mm-hmm. And this lady had contacted us, and it were a friend of a friend, and she'd seen this giant that was stood behind a logger's truck. So that means you've got a truck and it had all these logs on the back of the truck, and it must have been about 20 foot high, yeah? And she was out with a dog this evening, and the dog started acting peculiar and looking at this truck and barking, and when she looked, she says this thing looked over the top of the lorry, this logger's lorry, yeah? And it looked straight at her. And she says, it was like a giant, she says. It was like a giant, all in black, like in a, you know, skin diver's uniform. Like a frogman. And it were all black. And she said, me and the dog ran. She said, I don't think I've ran. She says, since I was about 16, I didn't run as fast as that. You know, like since I was 16-year-old, she says. She said, I went past the dog. She says, I flew past the dog. She said, I run for my life. She says, I was scared stiff. Now, this is at the other side of Druid's Altar, and where I'd seen this tall sort of like spaceman, you know, sort of like creature. Yeah, so I'm just looking to see, we've got a break coming up. Anyway,
but some places called Druids, something that's like, you know, has it got something to do with the Druids?
Well, they call it Druid's Altar. That's the nickname of this place. And it's obviously there's been more trees around there, but obviously over the years they've been cut down, like most of the country, you know, sort of like. But yeah, I should imagine if it's called Druid's Altar, it'd be because back then that it would have had something to do with, you know, the Druids at the time. You know. Right. So the thing is, when I started researching this story, where she'd seen this creature, yeah, it was a place called Rumbles Moor, and when I looked into what Rumbles Moor was, it was a giant that lived on this moorland called Rumble. Now, I find it fascinating that we've got a lot of stories and there's things being seen today, and if you look at the names of the areas, they coincide with what's been seen. Giants. This thing...
It's like Jack and the Beanstalk.
Well, yeah.
So, have you collected stories? How many do you have? Have you gone back in time and able to track other stories?
Well, in my office, I've got filing cabinets full of information. You know,
like 20 books.
Well, I've got one of the oldest archives going back to the 1950s here. You know, and one to 1945 about an attack that happened outside of Winston Churchill's residential home. Just as the war had ended. A very strange story. And it could be either the last-ditch attempt of the SS to try to kidnap Churchill or time travel. It's a fascinating piece of research by a colleague of mine, and I started looking into it, but a lot of people just pulled it and didn't want to talk about it. You know, especially down where Winston Churchill lived. You know,
you're here to get these stories out and the people decide for themselves, because I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear these stories. We're coming up on the break in like 1 minute here, approximately. What did you want to say, Sasha? Real quick. We have
I'm fascinated by the idea that it was a last-ditch attempt to get Churchill.
Churchill, yeah. It'd be interesting to put forth your hypothesis. It's either, trying to get Churchill or it's time travel, and then present your arguments in both directions. And maybe you have some other things about what it could have been, and then, write this up and say, well, you decide.
But we know that Uncle Albert was trying to bring down England.
Uncle Albert? You mean Edward?
Edward, yeah.
Edward, yeah. Hey, the music's going to start. So when we get back, I definitely want to go into your story with the alien military a little bit. Yeah. What else would you cover in the second half? We'll leave a cliffhanger here. What else would you like to cover? Okay. So the music will start any second now, and we will be back after about a 4-minute break. And we're going to continue with Russ Kellett, and I'm Janet Lessin with Dr. Sasha. Alex Lessin will be back in 4 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back after this message.
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
This is the people's war. It is our war. We are the fighters. Fight it then. Fight it with all that is in us. And may God defend the right.
Warning! Warning!
We've got to stop them! They're going to kill us all!
See how the trouble you've started? See they the government, be they industry, be they organized labor, be they anyone, or human beings. Time when the operation of the machine becomes so odious, makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part. And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, upon the levers, upon all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported talk radio station, throwing ourselves upon the gears of the machine. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
You called down the thunder, well now you got it. Right! You tell them I'm coming! And hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Revolution Radio. All right, thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
Aloha and welcome back to the Sacred Matrix. I'm Janet Care Lessin with Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin. Debra DeFranco is our producer, and our guest is Russ Kellett. But before we get back to our show, I'd like to remind you to please go over to the Revolution Radio website and make your donation. Top left is the one-time donation button, and what it's called, Patreon. The Patreon button's for your recurring donation. We do thank you very much because your donations allow us to bring these shows to you, and we really enjoy hanging out with you. Okay, what would you like to say, Sasha? We're doing hour 2.
Russ, I know you're really up on the field, and what's the hottest and latest?
Right, and I want to know, especially Debra and the other people, a little bit about your contact with the aliens and how you found yourself in these wars that are going on. I want to know more about the wars, and then maybe we can focus on your books towards the end and a little bit more detail about your type of thing. So back to you, Russ.
Right, well, what's happening currently? Well, we've had a bit of a lull over the past couple of years. I changed to a new website, so we haven't got the traffic as much as we used to have. But what we had in North Wales around Flintshire was strange lights seen, blue diamond-shaped lights, flying triangles, balls of lights coming in across from the area which goes out towards Liverpool. We've also had something strange up in the northeast, and I can't for the life of me find the notes from a phone call what I had, which was a place called Bowlam Lake near Newcastle, where a strange werewolf-type creature had been seen, and like a UFO in the sky. A very bright light came down and then seemed to go behind these trees near the lake. Now that's come up now, I would say, 3 or 4 times, this place near Newcastle called Bowlam Lake. Then we've had back in Bradford, somebody'd seen a flying saucer come down at a place called Queensbury. So those are the news stories just in. I have a website called ufo.uk.net, and you can go and have a look. There's some video links up there to UFOs and video footage, and about 30 years worth of UFO reports. But there's 50 years of reports that could be taken and put into a book form, along with some of the first photographic evidence from the 50s and 70s of UFOs. So there's about 5 photographs that I own, that I have in my archive, archive material upstairs in my office. So I'm looking out all the time for new UFO reports, but I'm looking for more than UFO reports. I'm looking for reports of things that are more than UFOs. I'm talking about craft like alien craft, flying saucers, things that are not the norm, things that are flying about, what look like, a satellite, that move like a satellite, that probably is a satellite, is probably a satellite. So we're looking for all the other things that are, you would say, that are strange, that are definitely, more than just lights in the sky.
Are some of them your military? Are some of them your military?
Well, it just depends what military you mean.
I mean the ones that they take out of your taxes from the government.
Do you think this is reverse engineered human craft or extraterrestrial? What's your theory?
Or both.
I know for certain that we've got both, and I'll tell you what we have. I think if I remember the last time I was talking, Janet, you was talking, I think you had TJ talking, and I was trying to explain, and I don't know what was wrong with TJ at the time, but I will try to explain that one of the most aggressive alien, what do you call it now? The people that fight along them, their allies. One of the most aggressive allies of this blue alien race. The tall, like blue aliens, like alien greys, but blue and tall. Like Orient, Chinese, and they had some unbelievable technology, unbelievable, and we were getting into what I would say a war with them, not only on other planets but on this planet, and I don't think it came across just how much of a threat that there was to us. To my unit, my alien unit, but...
So how are they a threat? Are they a threat to the Earth and humanity? Or were they just a threat to you and your troops?
They want to rule the world. They want to rule the world. There's no doubt about it.
And how do you know that? How do you know? Have you had communication with them? How do you know that their intention is to rule the world?
Because we fought them. The unit that I'm in have fought them, and the alien race that they're fighting alongside, and basically what the aliens had said was, these people, sort of like want to rule your Earth.
So what was their technology like? What did they have that was so impressive?
What have they got? Everything what you've got probably in America and what we've got in this country. They can watch you in their country. They know exactly everything about you. There's microchips. There's what you call small video cameras watching you. In a lot of the daily things that you use. Like your television, radios, telephones, right? Yeah, watching you. They know exactly what you're doing, where you are, and everything. Clocks, in your, you could have something as simple as a watch. Knows exactly where you are. It's got a camera, built-in camera. Knows exactly where you are, who you are.
How did you battle with that kind of intelligence? How did your unit battle them?
Very, very hard, with many casualties. And the frightening thing is, that wasn't only on one or two other planets. But that was on this planet, and they really are ready to, I would say, take over. You know.
So maybe back up a little and explain how did you get in this? What was your first remembrance of being in this army, and then tell us more about the battle on this planet. So just a brief, not a long one, but tell us about, because I know Debra doesn't know, and a lot of listeners don't know.
Well, what happened? Again, it was this time I'd gone over to a friend's, talking about, what had happened, seeing this strange creature, this tall spaceman. And on my way home, I'd had something very strange happen. I came across what I can only describe as what you would call a tunnel in the road. And I thought, wow, where's this come from? How long's this tunnel been here? And as I got closer to it, it seemed to get brighter and light up, so, to go down through it. And I thought, I didn't like the look of it. I just didn't like the look of it. So I'd stopped, I'd slowed down, but all of a sudden, I'm going through it. I'm going inside it. And I'm not wanting to. So anyway, I ended up inside. The next thing, I was inside this room, and there's these tall aliens, bald, must be 10-foot tall alien creatures like humans. And I'm there, and I'm sat in this chair now. It's like a dentist chair sort of thing, and this thing walks behind me and back of my neck, but sort of like there's something, I feel this pressure, like an injection in just at right of the middle of my neck. And the next thing, I'm laid back, and this tube comes down, and they put this tube into my mouth, down my throat, and then this thing comes down on the other end of it. It's like an helmet. So I'm thinking, my God, sort of like, and I'm panicking and saying, don't panic. Everything's okay, don't panic. You're not going to die or anything. So then, the next thing, I'm being lifted up, and now, it's like this room, right, that we're in now has changed, and it's become like a giant hall now, and the floor's moving, right, and now I'm going up, and I'm sort of like elevated now, and this it's like a 2-tier chair. Now I'm in something which is more flimsy, and I'm out of the main chair, and there's like wires, and I'm being up in the air, and it's like I'm in this like arena, and I'm watching something taking place, and I'm watching. In a way, it's sort of like it's like basic battle skills and things, and it's telling you what to do in situations, about weaponry, about how to use this weapon, about fail-safe mechanisms on it, and about the suit that we're going to be wearing, the helmets and everything. About you've got to wear the helmet, you cannot fire the weapon, sort of like you've got to have this helmet on before you fire the weapon. Never take the helmet off if you're using the weapon, etc. And then the next thing, I'm down, and I'm like getting this spray all over me, and then it's like there's like a heater, like it's like you've had a shower, and this heater drying you off, and then this thing moves forward, and this thing comes down like a sluice. And then we're told to drink out of this, like it's this pipe that comes down, and it's a nice taste, and we're drinking this stuff, but there's a sluice that opens in front of us, and we're sort of like being sick, and there's a row of people, there's a row of us all there, being sick, drinking this stuff,
Throwing up.
Say again, sorry. Hello?
Was everybody throwing up?
Well, yeah.
Being sick.
There's a long line of us, and we're all drinking this stuff and all doing the same thing. Anyway, we're all finished and sort of like, my God, anyway. Very strange taste. And then this sluice goes back up, then this thing comes down, and we sprayed then with this stuff. It's like a shower. And then again, we're all dried and what have you. Then again, this thing moves forward and it opens, and inside it's a locker. And we're told to put these clothes on. And they put these clothes on. They're very, very, very light. Like, in a way, it were like, you know, curtains, lace curtains and what have you. You put it on, and it's all white. And then when it goes on, there's like the front, and it more or less zips itself up, sort of thing, when it's on your body. And it's like, I don't know what to call them, romper suit, because the feet, you've got socks as well in the pants at the bottom. And then you turn this dial at the top, and all of a sudden it tightens. And as it tightens to your body, and you turn this dial, and it goes from, it's like white, yellow, green, blue, dark blue and black. And the socks what were at the bottom now are like boots. So it's an all-in-one suit. And I'm there, you know, sort of like in this suit and what have you. And the feeling when you've got this suit on is unbelievable. You feel the power through this suit is unbelievable. You know, it's like you're feeling invincible. And then there's an helmet, so you put the helmet on, told to put the helmet on, take out this rifle, and then there's like 3 batteries, and 2 go at the side of the rifle, there's 2 slots, and then there's the thing goes in the bottom, and it's the magazine. These things are magazines, but the magazines are actually batteries that charge this rifle up. It's a sound weapon. And if you take them off and you fire the weapon, it bursts your eardrums. The sound it's horrific, you know, sort of like, and it's to kill this certain alien race, which are like dragons. And when it eats them, it makes them implode rather than explode. So that's what happened, and you know, sort of like the next thing I know, I'm back outside this tunnel on my scooter, and sort of like looking all around me, thinking, where am I? You know, and the scooter's still it's in neutral, but it's still ticking over, and I just carried on my way home. So I get home, and yet again, you know, sort of like I'm late. You know, sort of like, you know, me mum, you know, you want to start coming to bed a bit earlier, you know, sort of like, haven't I heard that before? You know, sort of like, so that is one of the earliest recall of being put in this, or the start of being put into a unit. That was like the training. Getting the suit to fit.
The sound. Could you hear? I understand that the helmet protected you from the damage from the sound, but could you hear anything at all? What did it sound like? Was it metallic, or like a bell? Was it like a buzz? What was the sound it was making? Was within your hearing?
When you've got the helmet on, you don't hear the sound.
Oh,
You don't exactly hear the sound, for the simple reason, if you did, you'd have burst eardrums, I should imagine. I once took the helmet half off, when there were a problem, and, it nearly burst my eardrum. In fact, I have a problem with my right ear, which is where,
what did you hear? Was it like an explosion? What did you hear when you hurt your ear?
It was like, imagine somebody playing a bugle or something, and blowing down a bugle and having it right next to your ear.
Oh, okay, got it. That's how Joshua brought the walls down in Jericho.
Sound, yeah.
Pardon?
So how many times have you been taken off and involved in these battles? You said that there was what happened here. So tell us more about that.
Quite a few. I mean, we've sort of like had battles with different forms of these. What you would call, some people call them reptiles, some people call them reptilians, dragos, and they are like dragon. They're like dragon race, dragon men. But there's others as well. There's these like others that are like Egyptians. They're a bit nasty as well, to say the least. There's a whole different, number of different alien races, and they all have what you would call allies. And some are allies from different planets, and some are allies from this planet, from planet Earth. And like I say, one of the other races that we came across were these tall blue aliens. And they are tall and they're blue and they're a bit like alien greys. And like I say, they had the Chinese as their allies. There's also like the alien greys, we've come across them before, with their allies, which seem to be like, they seem to be like Slavic, a lot of Slavic types, Russian types.
Slavic, honey. That's
okay, not Slavic.
They're aligned with different races.
Is that what you said? Yeah. Slavic?
Slavic, that's right, yeah. Like Russian, that type of race of people.
Okay.
But, there's American troops as well, fighting alongside them. There's, like I say, obviously I'm English, so I'm with ink, but the funny thing is, I was telling, I don't know if you'd seen it, whether you got the newspaper, where I turned around and asked one of the guys, don't I know you from somewhere? And, so are you in the band? And it was Robbie Williams. Remember, did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, I'll go back to the article. Let me pull that up. So,
yeah, and I was
told... abducted by aliens. Beam me up, Robbie. I can't make out what the article is saying. It's too small on my screen. So what happened that you were on the same article as Robbie?
What had happened was that when I was in the unit, I'd been promoted, and I turned round and I said, "Don't I know you from somewhere? Are you that guy, in that band?" I'm trying to think of his name, Robbie Williams. And I was told by headquarters, get back in line. You're going onto a mission, And, oh, right. Uh-huh. And then I look back around again and said, I'm sure I know you. I don't know, he says. And that's what I'm told, sort of like you've been told, sort of like get in line. So that's before we went through this, what we call the doorway, sort of like how we travel. And I mean, you know, a lot of the times people talk about travelling in spacecraft and that type of thing, and you know, it's like it doesn't always tie in with how you travel, if you know what I mean.
Does Robbie know how? Does Robbie have a conscious memory of being in this battle?
Well, the thing is that the newspapers, obviously, when I told them they've got to get in touch before the printer story, and asked him, and he said no comment. He couldn't comment on it.
Oh. So, have you ever talked to him personally about it?
Well, no. I mean, let's put it this way. He must be aware of me. I mean, sort of like flipping heck. You know, I've only been in the subject for 30 years. If he hasn't, there's something wrong. And it's funny how all of a sudden he started getting interested in the UFO subject and aliens, etc. Having said that,
this is kind of like, you know, Andrew Bashago said that he was on Mars with Obama, right? And so I just wondered if you had any reaction when you said, "Hey, I've been on the wherever you were."
We must know about this article in the newspaper.
Yeah, where did this article appear?
Of course, and you know, I've had lots of people contact me since that went in the newspaper. You know, one about the big article about the castle. Am I going in the castle? And the other thing is, I was asked, has Robbie Williams contacted you? And if he does, can you let us know? And I've had numerous, what I would call production companies wanting me to get in touch with them. But of course, we've got lockdown. So, you know, no matter what happens, you know, I've been asked, you know, sort of like, can you be, you know, sort of like at any minute, can you just drop what you're doing and sort of like make your way to, you know, A, B or C and start filming? Well, normally, yeah, before all this, you know, this COVID nonsense, we could have, yeah. But now we're all a little bit stuck, aren't we? So, you know, so there has been quite a lot of...
does anybody have a phone that you could call him? You would think that, or an email, or does anybody... I mean, somebody knows him, right? That might know you, 6 degrees of separation type of thing? Where you could call him, or...
The thing is, if you were that interested, in getting in touch, you know what I mean?
You would have.
You know, he hasn't, so I mean, so he can't be that interested. I mean, if I'd have heard the story that I were in the unit, I'd have been wanting to know what happened to me. I don't know about you. If I said, Sasha, me and you were in my unit, and sort of like I'd met you, and we'd gone out on this operation, or as you would say, maybe a mission, as the Americans call it, rather than operation. I'm sure that you'd like to know more about what happened, wouldn't you? If I said me and you know, we're in the same unit together, I'm sure that you definitely want to know what you're up to. You know what I mean? I mean,
did you rehearse for your battles? Did you rehearse together on strategies and know what you were doing? You know, were you in communication with the other people? How does that work?
Right. Well, it used to work through an helmet system, an HQ, and what had happened was that we would have there was like a visor, and that visor would tell us. It's very similar to like a north-south, a compass, where we were travelling, how many kilometres we were from a target. You know, it tells us target, how many kilometres away we're from, the enemy will be fighting. So images have come up and tell us which enemy it was, and it had come up with, like, for instance, how many, what was the strength of their military, how many troops they had, whether it was 1,000 or 5,000 strengths, everything. It had all come up in front of us, so we knew we could talk to each other. We're in small units at first until bigger battles went from 10 in a unit, and then it started getting to where there was like 50 in a unit. Then with the real big battles, then there'd be 100 in a unit.
So are you all on the ground, or are some of you in aircraft or tanks or anything like that?
Yeah, there's all sorts of things that we're travelling. You don't see you see, it's like you don't see like for instance, people say, oh well, we were fighter pilots in this, that, and the other. Well, no, well, you don't travel like that. It's odd because every time someone talks and you have these people talking, you automatically think of stuff like Battlestar Galactica or Star Wars. And the thing is that we're taken in two modes of transport, which is the ship, where it actually grows. So when you get in the front, right, yeah, it actually goes, and there's people getting in, and it's growing all the time, like into a tube. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like they're just one step and it goes back, and so you from something that's about maybe looks to be 10 foot long, when you've got the troops in it, and there's more troops going, and it'll extend out more, another 10 feet, and then another 10 feet. So, and that's how we travel in these like spacecraft. And sometimes, if you're 2 abreast or 5 abreast or 20 abreast, and it'll be grow in the width as well as the length to take all the troops. Occasionally, you've got all the weapons. Sometimes they take bigger weapons, like these, for instance, what would you call them now? Like cannons. They take cannons with them, to knock down some of the buildings, etc., to get in. But you didn't have as many of the craft flying about, if you know what I mean. Apart from like drone type things, which they don't have a shape to them. The drones are like just balls of like, they look like just balls of light, which, sort of like how we travel. We travel like that way as well. But also, so a lot of it is, we're actually travelling in like teleporting, yeah? So we'll teleport. But then it goes from teleportation into the next step, which is the time travel. The time travel element, sort of like, and either two ways I don't like travelling in, if I'm honest about it, sort of like, because they both make me feel really sick. That's the only part I don't like about it. I like being with my brothers and sisters in the military and what have you, but as for travelling, no. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
It's like on a roller coaster.
I have this article backing your Robbie Williams. It says that he confessed to a UFO hovering over him. Did it change something in the timeline? He was interviewed in Australia on their 60 Minutes TV show. And it says that he confessed in a very serious tone, and it looked that he has had an encounter with the UFO. He said he was at a ranch in Utah State, and the UFO was so close to him that had he had a tennis ball, he could have hit the craft with the ball. Sadly, the person conducting the interview took it less seriously and started joking. See, that shuts people down. So anyway, if I were you, since he did this, and there's a video, I put it up on the website, on your web page. There's a video I'll watch later. And apparently, one of his songs called Advertising Space, may have been that inspiration, from the UFO encounter. So he has a song about it and did an interview. So recommend our listeners go to QuarianRadio.com and take a look at that after the show. But so that's backing what your story. This is what we need is. So here's Robbie Williams. You're saying you saw him, and now he's saying, but we have to get the two of you together sometime, and I'd like to do the interview. Yeah, if we could do it. But anyway, whatever.
Well, you know something, you could do it. I mean, there would be one way you could do it, and that's if you contacted the newspaper, the Daily Star newspaper. If you sent them an email saying that you have a radio show, big radio show in America, how could you interview him for your show? Would it be a possibility? Could you give your details to him? I know the gentleman, I can pass you his details on, a fantastic guy from the Daily Star. He might be able to get him on the show for you.
That'd be great, and have you there too and talk about it. Now, when was this Daily Star article? I don't see a date.
It was only a couple of months ago. It's current.
Couple months.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was probably because of the interview. So then, how did you get pulled in? They've got your picture on this article. Like I said, I can't read the article.
My goodness, Janet, of course I'm on my picture's on. It should have been a bigger picture as well. How dare you?
No, I'm just saying that they contact you to talk about this because you're known. Was this, yeah, so this interview was in Australia. And then the Daily Star, that's a UK newspaper or Australian? I'm confused.
Right. What happened?
They got in touch with you.
What happened, Janet, right, yeah? The newspapers get in touch with me a lot, and I haven't been able to do anything for a few years because I was a carer. And I've been asked to do all sorts of things up and down the country, but I just couldn't at the time. So I started getting requests again, and people calling me from magazines and from the newspapers, because they knew that I was Russ Kellett, the UFO hunter and abductee. So I didn't know that they'd put a massive big piece in about Beary Castle in North Wales and about me being the inspiration for the producers to hold this £1 million show to be held in the UK, in North Wales, for the very first time. So this £1 million deal had gone through, and it was going to be taking place there because I was investigating what was going on in North Wales and the Beary Mountains, you see. So I was taken back, and I spoke to the chap that wrote the article, and he says, you know, sort of like, that's a bit of an accolade, is that? He says, you know, you've got a show here that's one of the biggest shows on TV in England, and it goes all around the world. In fact, France and Germany are going to be using that castle for their alternative. I'm a Celebrity. So it'll be going out in Germany and France and other countries, and I hope it goes out in America as well. If you have the same type of show there, it'd be great if you came over in this haunted castle. But anyway, so I contacted him, and he says, "Have you got anything else?" He said, "Because we did something about you at the beginning of the year." And I said, "Well," I says, "there's only one thing. I don't know if you'd be interested in it." I said, "But," I says, "when I was abducted and put into this military unit," I says, something very strange happened, and I've been talking about this for 20 years. This isn't something that's just happened. My sister's here, she can tell you. Right, yeah? I've been talking about this, right, in 1997, when I was driving my mum.
That's right, yes.
My sister's telling you, right, yeah, and I said, I've met this lad in this boy band in my unit, I says. And my mum would say, oh, have you really? And I said, yeah. And I said, anyway, I've been telling this story now for over 20 years. And then all of a sudden, in 2000, and I think it was 2005 and what have you, he started looking into UFOs and aliens. Now, is that a coincidence? And I've been telling people for over 20 years.
Years and years.
For years and years. My
That's
sister's
true.
telling you it's true.
It is true.
So is that a coincidence? You tell me.
There ain't no coincidences.
No, I think you have, this is what we're looking for. This is, well, kind of testimonial evidence, but it's certainly evidence.
Corroborative.
Corroborative evidence, right. Here you are. I was on my motorbike in a place called Roots Altar. So you went through a tunnel. This is the same thing. So they have this whole article. There's another one. I went to the Daily Star UK and got that one. So I'm reading it online here. So I'm going to put that link in the on your page. So, well, we'll do this. We'll follow through and we'll find out if we can. Since he's a celebrity, it's hard to get in touch with them. Maybe
I'm a celebrity, but
he'll hear this show.
Me. Oh, I've got this.
Was he in the castle?
I'm going to get called to that castle and to eat pigs' doodahs and what have you in that trial. I can just see it happening now. Oh God, no!
Ring and ring and ring.
I can just see it. Yeah. Oh dear me.
This is
Sorry.
wonderful. Yeah, this is great. So anyway, I have to be honest. I've never heard of Robbie Williams, but you know what do I know? But,
how dare you? How dare you?
How dare you? I'm just an old fart. I haven't heard of Robbie Williams.
He looks like he works out.
But he looks like he could be a super soldier. Yeah. Anyway,
he doesn't do as he's told when he's in the unit. Let's put it that way. And if I meet up, I'll have to have words with him. He got me shot last time.
Oh, you have to clear something with him. How did he get you shot? Was it an accident or intentional? What was going on?
Oh dear. No, I was calling for help and I was getting this thing grabbed hold of me and it was really attacking me. And anyway, somebody shot it anyway. And I said, where were he? I asked where he was and he wasn't about. So never mind. He was number 2 in line.
Okay.
He was number 2 in line, so he should have shot it. But never mind. I won't forget. I mean, I've forgotten it.
You won't forget, but you've forgotten it.
But are you saying your buddy let you down?
He didn't have your back. He got you shut.
No, I think to be honest, I think he were having a pretty bad time of it. They were having a pretty bad time of it, to be honest, if I remember rightly, because he'd been attacked, and if I'm not mistaken, that is probably why he said no comment, because I should imagine if he is like me and he remembered what happened, he would have had the woolies put up him, believe me. Because it's not a good thing, like I say. I mean, I know I'm laughing and joking a little bit, but when all this were happening, I wasn't. I was scared to death. You know, I didn't know who to turn to. I just did not know who to turn to.
Have you been killed like the other, some of the other super soldiers, and then they go into the regen tank and they get brought back? Have you ever experienced getting killed and brought back?
Well,
that you remember?
It's something a little bit odd. It's something a little bit odd, and I'm still trying to come to terms with it. Yeah. There's certain things. It's like I can tell you everything about what happened. There's one or two things that I keep close to my chest because I'm still trying to come to terms with about what happened over there. But also, I had my memory taken from me.
Yeah, they do that.
One Sunday morning, my dad came in, bought papers, and I was sat, and I remember sitting down and reading paper. And it's not like me because I didn't really used to sit and read papers on a Sunday morning. And all of a sudden, I just started reading the paper, and I started babbling and talking really, really making no sense whatsoever. And my dad said, "Are you okay?" And obviously, when I was talking, he shouted at my mum. He said, "There's something wrong with our Russ. I don't know what's up with him." He said he's gone right funny. And he had to take me up to the Bradford Royal Infirmary. And anyway, they took us up, and they put me in that isolation unit, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. They could not figure out. I lost my memory. I think I lost taste. I lost my sight. My hearing was not really good, and they thought I was having a seizure. You know, at first I had brain scans. They thought that I had maybe 5 things that what they said I could have had, and if it were any of these 5 things, I won't be coming out of hospital probably. They thought it might have been meningitis, and you know, just really, really a terrible time. And after 3 days, I came round. After 3 days, but it were like they put it down to seizural migraine. It's where the migraine is so bad that it causes like a seizure. Have you heard of it?
No.
Yeah. I think somebody were talking about it on television once, weren't they?
Oh, I've heard of it, yes.
And it will really, it's a bizarre thing, and it causes you to almost have a seizure. You know, it's so bad is the attack. You know, sort of like you lose all sense and everything, all your senses. You know, and sometimes they don't always come back. You know, as good as they've been. You know, so thank goodness. You know, thank God, thank you, Father. You know, for looking after me, you know, but it wasn't a good thing. And after that, I'd lost a lot of I wrote a lot of things down, you know, as backup memory, and you know, but there were a lot of things I remembered exactly where the aliens had come from. They told me the names, where they were from. All sorts of, you know, things. And then all of a sudden, it's gone. You know, something had taken it away from me. You know, I could feel it. I could feel
but you
something.
wrote it down. You wrote it down somewhere.
I wrote it down, yeah. I wrote the names down and everything. And then we moved across here. And I'm still trying to find a lot of things. We had a leak in his roof before we got it a new roof put on and what have you. And there are a lot of things like manuscripts and stuff and drawings and stuff what I'd done, and they were all ruined. So I don't know whether, you know, because just a pile of paper that had all become one. You know what I mean? So I don't know whether, when I chucked all that out because it was smelling, I don't know whether some of the notes were in that, but like I say, I remembered everything. I had 100% recall. You know? And there's not many people that have that. you know. But anyway,
Give Debra a chance to talk. Debra needs to.
What?
But Debra.
Debra, I didn't want to. Debra, did you want to ask something? We're running out of time here.
No,
Any
I'm
comments?
good. Nope, I'm good.
Okay. So then, I want to give you a chance to talk about your 2 books. When can we expect them? Do you have titles for them?
The first book is called Through the Eyes of an Alien. That's about me and about my abductions, what happened to me, etc. And the other one is going to be called the Beary Mountains Incident. And that is about the famous Beary Mountains UFO landings, which is amazing on this night on 23rd of January 1974 in North Wales. We seem to have a battle take place out in the Irish Sea, and we had ground troops in Wales, in North Wales, and we had the RAF flying around attacking the flying saucers that had been depth charged in the Irish Sea. And it's all the paperwork that I've accumulated, the police logs, the witness statements, the drawings of what people saw on the night, the witness statements, and a lot of the paperwork. And it's showing that something major happened. Something major happened there. So
what do you think happened? What do you think it was, Russ? What was going on?
Well, I had a sergeant that had been in he was part of a detachment, and they'd been there excavating an area, and he was so helpful. It was unbelievable, telling me about where there was and about witnesses, things people had seen, the names of the people, had seen UFOs. And I actually rang around and I found a lot of the people from that day had definitely seen things. So I knew that he wasn't bogus, because he had a lot of answers, you know, and a lot of knowledge about people that had seen things. But he couldn't tell me what he was doing exactly. It was secret. Mm-hmm. Now, there's only one thing I can think of, and that is there was trying to breach an underground base, an alien base.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's the only thing I can think of, and that base went all the way out into the sea. So they were attacking from both ends. So that's what it's about. It's about the night of the attack of this base, an alien base.
So you have, somewhere in you have the inside story, because you're one of these soldiers that goes to these battles. So if you could piece that together with, like this, you know, the story of the mountains incident and them coming out of the ocean, somewhere you know this. They may have repressed your memories, but you can pull this forth and bring it into the light.
That's right.
There's a fight here. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, probably so. Bearing in mind that I'm in a different alien race's military unit. So, but, you know, basically that we have breached their units before. But usually on other planets. Mm-hmm. And all the planets used to exist, had life exist on them. All the planets.
Right.
They all had some form of life on all the planets at one time or other. As far as I can make out from what I was told back then, that this is something that it wasn't just we're not the only planet that have life on. Excuse me, indigestion.
Battle that Earth is going on in Earth and in space and on other planets. And what is it, because Earth has such resources and minerals, or why Earth? Why not fight over some other planet?
Well, I mean, the thing is, there's just as many planets with rich minerals on, and with life, with life on them. I mean, we're told a lot of things that are not true. I mean, it's like if they said to you, do you know that there's life on the moon, on Mars, you'd say, oh yeah, of course there is. But, they're not going to tell you that. They're not going to, because it's other life and it's other people, and some religions couldn't really deal with that. It's like we are the only things, and why is that? Why, but then again, I suppose it makes it simple. In a way, it makes it simple.
The narrative.
It's not just that. Written on clay, the Akkadians talked about life on the other planets.
Right. So there's the powers that be that control the human population, and then there's they control the narrative. Hey, we have 1 minute left. Once again, tell everybody about your website and your books, etc.
Yeah, well, you can find us at UFO. .uk.net. If anybody wants to report a UFO or send anything to us of any interest, or just have a look at some old reports, archived reports, and look at some stories. My friend, she is a paranormal investigator as well, and she looks at UFOs alongside me. We started investigating together.
Wonderful.
Great.
Well, it's been a delight, Russ. Once again, you're an incredible storyteller, and you have a nice energy about you. So thank you so much. We'll have you back again sometime in the near future.
Thanks for having me. It's been fantastic. Thank you very much, Sasha and Debra. God bless.